We say which one to example tobacco. Who read that? Okay, direct red cup. Hello, hello. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me in the comment section. Yeah. Aku sudah besar ya. Tiba-tiba all right, guys. Good afternoon. All right, so we're about starting today. Ankasano, I intentionally did this live at this time because I knew that people would be the workplace. I mean, I wouldn't want child people to join because it's a freebie. Yeah, but when I do the how do you call it? The paid for version. That one, I'll schedule a time that everybody can join. Yeah. So tell your friends to join because we are going to learn about color grading today. All right, guys. Good afternoon once again, and you are welcome to the Time with Ampong platform. Yeah, today we are going to learn about color grading in the Premiere Pro software. I hope you enjoyed this session. Please share the link for others who are available to join because I'm sure I'm better than Kabium tutorials in that check. But we pray that we have the strength to do more whilst we are still alive. I can see that I have 7 participants at the moment. Yeah. So keep sharing the link for the rest join and like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Now, at least you can make it count. But then, today I'm going to explain briefly on color grading, and in future we are going to delve deep into them. Yeah. So please give me a thumbs up or say something in the comment section for me to know that you guys are enjoying the session or you are with me on the session. Yeah. All right. Your comments are not coming. I'm trying to see your comments so that I'll know that you guys are available for me to proceed with the entretre. So please let me see your hands. In fact, let me see your shouting. I hear that come in or comment section. All right, guys. So without much ado, let's set the ball rolling. Okay. So the software we are going to use today is Premiere Pro, and you can see on your screen an already project that I'm working on. This year I've worked on. Yeah. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'll play it for you guys to watch, so you know, you see how the editing process is. Then after that, from the same footages, I'll pick one and we'll try color grading it so that we know the processes. Yeah. In case you have any questions, that we know the processes. Yeah. In case you have any questions, you can ask in the comment section so that I will attend to it later. Great. So I'm playing the video. Join the trail. 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 This is the NGO trail. A daily of inclusion and empowerment. Join us on NTV every Saturday from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. and be part of this program. I don't know what is happening, but unfortunately, my screen is off. I'm trying to share it again so that we begin our color grading tutorial. I'm sure you see my screen now. All right, so if you see my screen now, let's set the ball rolling before it goes off again. Great. Great. All right, so this is the video I worked on for, video promo I worked on for a client. Yeah, in my office. Yeah. So I'm playing it again for you guys to see. And when I am done, I'll proceed to trying to color grade one of the footages for you guys to see. So let's go. Join the trail. 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 This is the Ampong trail. A journey of faith, inclusion, and empowerment. Join us on 10 TV every Saturday from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. and be part of this program. All right, good. So that this is the video I worked on, or the video project that I worked on. So I'm trying to create. I'll pick one of the footages from the scene, and then we'll color grade it together. Good. So let me see which of the footage should we go for. Okay, so let's go with this one. Good. So I would create a new sequence out of this. For the purpose of this lesson, I'll create a new sequence out of this one. Good. So here's our footage. I would want to disable the sound because we won't need the sound for now. I will only use the video because that's what we are going to do. Good. So there's our footage. So let me loop it so that we can see the playback. Good. Okay. So this is the footage we are going to use today. Are you guys ready for me? All right, good. So now, since we have our footage, let's proceed. So now, the first thing you have to do here is that you need to find a frame which looks good for the, the color grading purpose. You can select any of the frames. I'm saying frames because, video is made up of frames. Yeah, that is series of pictures pushed through a frame. So a picture is known as a frame. You understand? Yeah. So you know that we have something called frame per second. So something like 24 frames per second. It means we have 24 pictures played within 1 second or pushed through a frame within 1 second. Good. So when I say you need to look for a frame that will be, will be fit for your color grading, you look for which part of the video which will fit your grade or which will be give you the good impression of when you are trying to color grade. Good. So let's select this portion of the frame. So this is where we are going to, what we are going to base on to do our color grading. Good. All right. So first of all, like I said, you need to look for the frame that is going to look good for you during your color grading. Now, the next thing you have to do is to make sure that the workspace you are using is the color workspace. You know that in Premiere Pro, just like Photoshop, you have the capability to choose between. So currently I'm in the color space. So if you want to do that, go to your window, then hover your mouse on workspaces, and then you look for color. So you can see that mine color is highlighted. The default color may not look like mine because I have customized mine to how it will suit me. However, I want you to understand the basics so that when you visit your machine, you will be able to find your way around it. Good. Unfortunately, my screen is off, so I'm going to stop and reshare my screen again so that you guys can see what I'm doing. I hope it's on now. Great. So now, like I said, first of all, you look for the frame you want to color grade. Now you go to Windows, Workspaces, and then you select color so that you can have the Lumetri color panel. And then you can also have the Lumetri color scopes. Good. The Lumetri scope. So you need to make sure that you have your Lumetri scope and then your Lumetri color panel. And then you can also see your footage or your frame. Great. The Lumetri scope may not look like mine by default. You have to set it to this standard. So let me try to reset it so that we can know how to go about it. Good. So sometimes in Premiere, we can know how to go about it. Good. So sometimes in Premiere Pro, when you go to your colors workspace and then you see your Lumetri scope, it might look like this by default. So how do you get all the other scopes aside this histogram? How do you do it? First of all you have to do is to, fortunately my screen is not staying for long. Forgive me. I'll have to back and forth like that. I'm streaming directly onto YouTube, that's why. So you guys are should forgive me for that. Yeah. All right, so this is your Lumetri scope, but we are only seeing the HSLs, the waveform, and it is in Luma. So we need to add the vector scope and then the histogram so that we will know, or let's say the parade, so we know how to balance the Lumetri scope. Great. So right click and first of all add our vector scope. And the vector scope is necessary for oversaturation and then your skin tone, so you know what you are doing. And then we'll look at our parade. So these are the three scopes I use for my color grading, or I use as reference during my color grading. Good. You need to make sure your waveform is available, and I always want it in Luma. And then you need to also make sure your vector scope is available, and then your parade is in RGB as well. That one is necessary for white balance. Fortunately for me, my footage is, I think, in the right exposure as far as white balance is concerned. Good. So now we can see that all my parade is almost on the same level. Good. So I mean, I wish it changed slightly so that we can really understand. However, going forward, I'll explain for you guys to understand it properly. Good. All right. So you need to make sure all these things are available for your color grading. Now, what do we do from the beginning of our color grading? There is one thing we need to know. What we need to know is that we have what we call color correction and then color grading. Before that, know that this footage you are seeing here was shot in log profile, as in C log profile. When you shoot your footage in the log profile, it allows you to have control over your color grading and your color correction process. So it is advised, or it is advisable for the creative to shoot his or her footages in log profile. Now, like I was saying, first of all, we are going to correct the colors in our scene because the scene here looks pale compared to the previous one we saw. Good. So looking at this and looking at that, you realize that the colors are different. Good. So now we'll first of all correct our colors and then now we'll look at grading our colors. Good. When we say color correction, you realize that because the colors are faded, they may not be in their natural state, the contrast and what have you. So now we'll have to bring it back into its natural state and then we can later grade it. So now to do that, you need to use the basic adjustment or basic corrections in your lumetri color scope. Oh, sorry, lumetri color panel. Good. So when we select our basic correction, we'll first of all look at the highlight and the shadows and the exposure and the contrast. That is what we are going to correct at the moment. But then take notice of the the lumetri scopes, because we are going to rely on the lumetri scopes, because we are going to rely on it greatly. The lumetri scopes here is what is going to guide us as to whether our colors are looking right or not. Good. So you can see that there are some numbers here. Good. So this is our lumetri scope. You can see that there are some numbers here, just like the rule, or numbers on the rule, or the ruler, as we already know. So in correcting your contrast, you need to make sure that the base part of it wouldn't touch 0, even though it should go low. I mean, low. It could go below 10 number over here, but it shouldn't touch the 0. The moment it touches 0, it breaks your blacks or your shadows. Good. The same way, your highlights or your white shouldn't exceed the 100 mark over here. It shouldn't exceed the 100 mark over here. The moment it exceeds it, you know that you are overexposing your footage. So when it goes below 0 or beyond 0, you know you are underexposing it or breaking your colors. And then when it goes above 100, you are also overexposing your footage. So you see it in all the scopes the moment I try to adjust. So first of all, what I do is I tone down my shadows. I bring down my shadows this way, and then my blacks as well. But I make sure, looking at the lumetri scope, it doesn't touch the 0, because the moment it touches the 0, you see that our blacks will be very thick, will break, or you have the natural black. Sorry, black. And before I continue, I would also want us to know one of the benefits of shooting in the log profile, because it gives you a wide range of, a wide dynamic range. So in case you are trying to increase the exposure, you still get the details in your, shadows, and get details in your overexposed area. Great. So let's proceed. So I'll bring my shadows down this way, and then my blacks down. So you realize in my numeric scope that it is almost touching the zero, but not on the zero yet. Great. Now I will increase my white this way, and then my contrast as well. Then I will add a little bit of exposure to it. Sometimes, because we want to protect the overexposure in the skies too, we beat down the white a little bit. Yeah. So this somehow some adjustment, or the basic adjustment, are depending on the exposure. So let's look at the before and after. The before and after of our footage. Great. So we've enhanced the contrast. We've enhanced our contrast, or the contrast in our footage. Yes. Forgive me if you hear any noise in the background, because I'm in the office and I'm not alone here. So Matthias here. Good. And I'm sure the lesson is going well. Give me some thumbs up if you are enjoying the lesson. Otherwise, we'll call it a day and continue another day. All right. So now this is the before and after of our, corrected contrast. Great. We'll add a little bit of saturation to it, because our colors looked washed out and kind of desaturated. So we'll add a little bit of saturation. But then whilst you are increasing the saturation, you need to look at what we call the vector scope. So all your colors here shouldn't exceed this line or go up above this line, because the moment it touches or go beyond it, you know that your colors are oversaturated. You understand? Great. So you could see that my red is touching the line. It means that the red in the footage or the scene is oversaturated. Likewise, my yellows, you understand? Great. So, which means I'll have to bring back the saturation a little bit. Good. So this is with the basic adjustment. All right, now, so let's talk about the white balance. You could realize that, during the white balance, so let me kind of distort it so you guys will understand what I'm saying. So you see that my parade, as in my RGB, red, green, and blue, is not aligning at the moment, because my white balance is distorted or distracted. So you could see that the moment I turn up my temperature and my tint, or my parade becomes basa. You understand? Good. So to correct it, you can use the the eyedropper tool, and then you make sure you tap on the neutral color within it, probably white or gray. So let me tap on this gray, and then you see that automatically it tries to correct it, and then the parade aligns. You understand? So you can use the eyedropper tool to correct it automatically, or you can do the adjustment yourself. all you need to do is that you need to make sure that your parade here is aligned. So you realize that my greens are a little bit up and my reds are a little bit up. So I could bring down my red a little so that my blues will go up, and then my greens too, I'll push it into the red, or let me say the magenta a bit, so that my greens will go down a little bit. Good. So let's look at the before and after. So before and after, before, after, before, after. Good. All right, so now let's continue. If you guys get the basic adjustment or the basic correction, yeah. Or otherwise, you guys can let me know in the comment section if you understand the basic adjustment, so I don't confuse you the more. Let me know in the comment section whether the basic adjustment is okay for now, so I can proceed to the next panel, that is the creative panel. All right, so I have one comment saying we can proceed. Good. So I think we can proceed. So that's with the basic adjustment. So first of all, you need to correct your contrast, because initially you realize that your footage is looking washed out. Correct your contrast and then your white balance, so that you get the original look. So that is if in case you are looking at it with your bare eyes without going through the camera, this is how you are supposed to see it. Great. Or let's say if you shot on standard, color profile, this is how you are supposed to see it. And then you need to guide yourself with the lumetri goals. You make sure your white are not touching 100. Likewise, your blacks or your shadows. Good. So now let's go to the next button of the lumetri color panel, which is the creative. Good. So this is the creative panel. Here you have the opportunity to be a little bit more creative in your coloring. Good. So here you can sharpen your footage a little bit. You can increase the vibrance, and then you can increase your saturation as well. But you realize that the moment I try to increase the shadows, my vector scopes fly beyond the line or the boundaries. Great. So that's how it is. So instead of you increasing the saturation, it is advisable that you increase the vibrance. Why? Why are you supposed to increase the vibrance? Because vibrance here increases the saturation of the colors that are less saturated. leaving the oversaturated areas, saturated areas. You understand? When you pull the saturation all the way up, it oversaturates every color within it. But the vibrance does this. Whilst increasing your vibrance, it holds on with the already saturated areas and tries to saturate the less saturated hues in it or colors in your scene. So you realize that whilst I try to increase it, you realize from my vector school that my screen should be on by now. Good. So now you realize when I try to increase my vibration, it is only the middle part here that tries to go up. You realize, good. But then when I increase my saturation, when I increase my vibrance, you realize that it's only the middle part that goes up, leaving the saturated areas or moving it slightly. But the moment I increase my saturation, you realize that all aspects will be popping up. Great. And it will make the thing look weird. Yeah, so we don't want it that way. So what we do is that we increase our vibrance a little this way. So we give our scene a little bit more color. And then we can even bring down our saturation a little bit so that those that are touching the boundaries will fall back a little bit. Then we increase our vibrance. So you realize that, we've not gone so far, but our scene is looking good already compared to the before. Good. All right, so this is all that I do within my creative panel. Others would also want to push some colors in their shadows and then their highlights. So you see that this one is giving it some feel, you understand? But I normally don't do it here because when I do it here, I will do it in the next, that's the HSL secondary. Good. All right, guys. So sorry, I wanted to prevent your ears from hearing things. You understand? Yeah. So, but let's continue. Great. So this is all that I normally do in the shadows. Sorry, my creative. So you can also add faded film effect a little bit, so it gives you some kind of faded effect. You can to soften your shadows. You understand, or soften your blacks a little bit. So now I'll do this and then I'll move away from my creative session. Then I'll go to my curves. Great. So within the curves, we try to add a little bit of contrast in our scene because it still looks kind of faded a little bit. So we'll add 3 nodes here in the shadows, the midtones, and then the highlights. That will create a kind of S shape in the, or S pattern in the curves. Definitely great. So now we will bring down our shadows a bit to add a little bit of contrast in our shadows. Then we'll increase our highlight a bit or open up our highlight a bit. So we add some more. Then we can open up our midtones like this. Great. Then we can open up our blacks too this way. Great. So let's look at the before and after to be careful or the after to be careful. So before, after, before, after. So while doing that, you need to monitor your geometry scopes as well so that it doesn't hit the zeros. Great. So we added a little bit more of contrast in our image. So this is the before and the after. All right, so let's proceed. So with this, we have the hue versus saturation, we have the hue versus hue, we have the hue versus luma, then luma versus saturation, and saturation versus saturation. This is when you want to do some adjustments to specific colors within your scene. So in case I want to reduce the saturation of a specific hue or color, know that hue is another name for color. You understand? Great. So if you want to change it or reduce the saturation of a specific color within a scene, now you can use the hue versus saturation. So you select your eyedropper to then select which of the colors you want to reduce. So assuming this red here in the apron is looking quite saturated, you can select it and then it will create some notes here for us. Then we can desaturate it a little bit. So you realize that it's desaturating it. The unfortunate instance is that it affects all the reds or hues that are having similar color in this area. So you don't have to overdo it, but then you reduce it a little bit. And you can even close this one up a bit so that it doesn't affect a wide range of color. So when you guys look at my vector scope, you realize that the moment I try to desaturate it, the red part of it drops. You get it? The red part of it drops. Okay. So I would want to say this for a better experience. You can put your phone on a full screen so that you can really appreciate it. Otherwise, if it is on a computer, fair enough. Now good to go. Good. Now let's move to the hue versus hue. The hue versus hue here is when a particular color is not really right, or probably you want to change a particular color. So that is hue. So you can still select your eyedropper tool and select a specific color. So let's say this is the color I want to change, or let's say the orange is what I want to change. I can select it this way and then I give it a different color. So you realize that the colors are changing, but you realize it is affecting all oranges in the scene. Yeah. So in case you want to do that, there are more convenient or non-destructive ways of doing it. That is, you need to now create a new either an adjustment layer or add a new geometry scope so that you after you are done, you can mask it and then it will only affect that portion. But we are not talking about that now because I might confuse you when I try to do that. But going forward, we are going to grasp the concept. I only want to explain what is here for you guys to know. I mean, how these things work or these tools work. Then we have the hue versus luma. Luma means you are controlling the luminosity of a particular color. You understand that, or the brightness or the darkness or the value of a particular color. So in case I select let's say the sky here, you realize that I selected the blue part. I can try to dim it, and then I can try to increase the exposure. Great. So that is how it works. That's how the luma also works. So you realize that it increases or decreases the value of the color. Great. Now the luma versus saturation. So you are either saturating the lightness or the brightness of the color, the highlight or the shadows and your highlight. So in case I select my highlight, you realize that my highlight is selected. So you can increase the saturation within your highlight or reduce it both in your highlight and your shadows. Great. So you realize that when I do it, you can see it to be my shadows and my highlight. And in the parade scope, you realize that the down here is what is giving us the effect that we are looking for. Great. So that is with the luma versus saturation. And then the saturation versus saturation. Great. So the same way, when your highlights are oversaturated, you can increase or decrease it. And then when your shadows too are, you can create. So that's how this one also works. I'm sure we understand the curves geometry panel. Great. So I normally use the first part of it. You can also adjust your red or use the same curve for your, color, white balance. Great, your white balance. But I normally don't use it. I use only the first one just to bring in some more contrast into the work. Great. I'm sure we are following. Yeah, more reaction or comment section so that I will know that you guys are really following. So it will motivate me to my new way. But Philly say I'm only talking. Yeah. So since we are done, we'll now go to our color wheels and match. So this aspect to also, help you create some interesting colors in your scene. But for me, I don't normally use them. So in case you want to kind of color grade your footage to look like a specific image that you have or a specific footage you have, this is the aspect you use to compare. And then so you can see that you try to compare and then you make sure apply match and what have you. But for me, I don't normally use this one. So I don't normally use this one. So yeah, but you can push a little bit of greens or blues in your highlight so that it gives some nice soft feel. Then you can push a little bit of blue in your shadows and then your midtones and what have you. But like I said, I don't normally use this aspect. I only use the highlight aspect where I try to push a little bit of greens in my scene. Great. So we'll leave it this way. Now we come to the HSL. Before we go to the HSL, I would want us to go to the vignette and then we come back to that because that one is that one is the icing on the cake. Good. So let's proceed. So with this one, I will only add a little bit of vignette so that my scene will be focused. It will be directed to my subject over here. So I'll add a little bit of vignette and then I'll feather it to soften the edges. Otherwise, you realize that when I bring it back, you see a sharp line here. So I'll soften it this way and increase the roundness a bit. Good. So that is the before and after of the vignette. Good. So before we move to the HSL, let's look at the before and after of our scene. So this is the before and this is the after. But I think our scene is a bit dark, so we'll increase the exposure a little bit. Good. Yeah. So this is what we have. My curves looks kind of too much as in my contrast. So let me pull down my contrast a bit. Go to my curves. Yeah, kind of drop my. So this is the before and this is the after. And I'm sure we are doing great. So we can say this is our corrected footage. We've corrected the colors in our footage, and this looks like a footage shot with the standard color profile. Good. Now we move to what we term the color grading itself. Here, color grading becomes an art. Here, it is a mood that you want to express. Good. So you either make it look warm or maybe cool, depending on the scene you want to, or what you want to communicate in a specific scene. So for a scene like this, you see it is more of a happy moment. So you can give it bright colors or bright grading so that it looks more interesting. However, if you want your scene to look more cinematic, this is where you do it. So you can make your background look a little bit cool by introducing more blues in your background, and then add some kind of warm tones in your skin tones, you understand, or your bright tones. So you can do something like the orange and teal and the steel color grading among others. So this is where you try to do it. Some also don't use the HSL secondary, but then I love to use the HIU, try to do it. Some also don't use the HSL secondary, but then I love to use the HSL secondary. And people have been asking more about that. That is why I want us to know more about the HSL secondary. Good. So great. So now let's look at our HSL secondary. HSL simply means hue, saturation, and then luminosity. Right. Good. So now, before we do that, assuming we have multiple footages like we have over here, and they are all shot in log and different, or maybe different picture profiles among others. So you try to correct it like we are seeing it this way. You get it, and then when you are done and you think all your colors are synchronized and looking similar to each other, now we can create how do you call it, adjustment layer, and then we can do our color grading on it so that it runs through it all. So our adjustment layer only serves as a container for you to keep your your items or your assets, and then your asset is more like a filter, you understand, and it helps you work non-destructively. Great. Just like working in Photoshop. So there are two ways in doing this. We can either add more lumetri scope onto the same layer, or we create an adjustment layer for it. So I can go to my lumetri color pile and then hover my mouse here, just next to the FX button. Oh, sorry, I didn't know my screen has gone off, so let me reshare it. I'm sure we are seeing my screen now. All right. Good. So now let's look at with the HSL secondary. HSL, sorry. Now looking at the HSL secondary, um, like I was saying, you can apply it in diverse ways. You can consider adding the adjustment layer so that in case you have multiple footages and then you have corrected all of these layers to kind of synchronize or align, your color grading will run through it automatically, that you don't have to select every footage individually to do the color grading. You understand? Or if you want to do it individually too, you can come to this side of the lumetri color panel. If you can see my mouse, you hover it over here, then you click to drop down, then you add lumetri color effect. You add more lumetri color effect. So you can add more than 2, you can add more than 3, you can add as many as you can. Good. But I wish we use the adjustment layer so that we can understand it better when we are trying to put it on multiple footages. Good. So right click here, increasing the adjustment, you can right click in your project panel and go to new item, and then you click on adjustment here. Good. And then we have our adjustment here. So when your adjustment layer is created, all you have to do is to drag it into your timeline this way. Good. So we'll trim it because this where our footage is. So there's our adjustment layer. And now we are going to do all the colors here onto this adjustment layer, and automatically you will see the effect on our footage. Yeah, but it's helping us work non-destructively because we can now delete our adjustment layer and it won't affect our footage at all. Good. So now let's move to our HSL lumetri color panel, and then we'll see what we are going to do with it. So this is what I want to do. I want to separate the skin tone from the background or all other colors so that I can color grade the background separately whilst I'm not distorting or damaging my skin tone. Great. So by so doing, you see this key option over here. You can use your eyedropper to the first one to sample a color in your skin tone, just like this, by simply left clicking on your skin tone or maybe a correct tone within your skin tone like this. Great. And then you see that automatically there are some adjustments here. For you to see what you have selected, you need to toggle on this color gray so that you see which colors you have selected. Great. So you realize that these are the colors I've selected within my scene. But it is not enough. So you can uncheck this and click on the eyedrop with the plus icon, and then you can add more skin tone color by clicking and dragging through your scene, and then you see that it will be adding more colors. So the moment we activate this again or check this again, you realize that more colors are added. Great. Good. So now you realize that more colors are added. So when you are done this way, you can adjust these ones to add more skin tone or select more colors within your scene, leaving out maybe your shadows and then you're selecting only your skin tones. Okay. So when you are pleased with what you are selecting or you are pleased with your selection, all you have to do is that you need to feather the edges of your selection, or maybe the line between your skin tone and the other colors. Because if you don't do that, you see a sharp line after the color grading. And to do so, you have to increase the blur a little so it feels blurred. Then the noise as well, you increase your denoise. So this is what you do. But since I've separated the skin tone, I will invert the selection so that the effect I'm going to do will affect my background instead. So the colors you see are the ones selected. The ones in gray are the ones deselected, or the ones not selected. I'm sure we are cool with that. You can also change the same. So when it is like this, the ones in black is what is not selected. But when it is in this, it is only the white areas that is going to do, just like layer mask does in Photoshop. Good. So I prefer the color in green. So now we are going to invert the selection so that we will color our background colors instead of our skin tone. And in so doing, all you have to do is to click this button here so that you can uncheck this so that you see the original colors. So like I was saying, so when you are done inverting, you can now uncheck this to see your true colors. And then now in your correction, you can push in some more blues in your background, so that it gives you some nice cinematic teal. You understand? Yeah. So like just like the orange and teal color grading. So we have this. Then you can dim it a little bit or reduce the luminosity a little bit so it has more contrast. Good. You add a little bit contrast. You can add more. So with this one, all adjustments you do only affect the selected areas. Good. I'll reduce the saturation a bit or increase it if you want. So let's reduce the saturation a bit, increase the sharpening a bit, improve the contrast. Then let's look at the before and after. So this is the before, this is the after. Good. So before and after, before and after. Great. So when we are done, you can add another lumetri color or lumetri adjustment effect, or we can add another how do you call it, layer, adjustment layer, so that our skin tones will also be on a separate layer. Otherwise, we can do it on the same adjustment layer by deleting this, and then we only come here and add geometry effect, so that will only be for our skin tone. So this trip, we are not using the eye drop to select our skin tone, but we'll click on the red here for the scene to automatically select our red. So click this way and realize that it selects all the reds in the scene. And then we can make some slight adjustments. And we increase the blur to feather it a little bit more or soften the edges. Great. But this time we won't invert it. We will leave it this way. And we will add some more color into our skin tone. Before that, know this. So I want us to appreciate what we are doing in our skin tone. So we see our skin tone. Our skin tone almost feels right. So let's see what I'm talking about. So since I've zoomed it this way, I'll select only the skin tone for you guys to see what we are doing. So now go to Effect Controls. Then we select our mask. Let's say our pen tool. And then we will mask only the skin tone area this way. Sorry. We should have selected our footage instead so that we'll see what we are doing. Great. So now this is the skin tone. Let's go back to our lumetri scopes and see what's happening here. So you realize that because we have selected only the skin tone, you see that all the colors in the lumetri is gone, or in our vector scope is gone. So let me hide it and go back to our vector scope. So you see that they are back. Now when I go to Effect Controls again and then activate it, you realize that everything is lost except for a tiny line over here. You understand? And why is this line over here? This line is here to help you have a correct skin tone for your subject. So it means that your skin tone should fall on this line. So when it falls below it this way, it means it is not right. There is more yellows in your skin tone. And when it falls above it, it means there's more red in your skin tone. So to have it right, you need to make sure that this line we are seeing here is going towards this line or falls on this line. Good. So with this, let's try and correct our skin tone. So we'll come and select our adjustment layer back, and then we'll try to move this a bit till we see that the line is falling on the line over there. Good. So now let's look at our vector scope. And you realize that now the line is no more here, but it's here. So let me try to undo. And you see that this is the before and after. Before and after. Good. Now let's see what is happening to our skin tone. Let's take off the layer mask now. And then try to toggle on the before and after. So let's toggle on the before, after. So you see what is happening in our skin. So you see that the greens are off a bit. Good. Let me zoom out so we see what is happening. So we have before, after, before, after. So you realize that now our skin tones are looking natural. We can reduce the saturation a little bit. Try to, yeah. You can increase the luminance a little bit to brighten or reduce it to add some more contrast to it. Reduce the saturation a bit so that it doesn't feel saturated, but it will look natural. So this is the before of the skin tone and after of the skin tone. Now let's try to hide. Now let's try to hide adjustment layer to see the overall color grading we've done. So this is the before, this is the after, this is the before, this is the after, like that. Good. All right, so now let's look at before and after of our footage. So it used to be the footage, and this is the after of the footage, the aftermath of our footage. So this becomes the whole footage. Sorry. So yeah, so there's our color graded footage, and I'm sure this session has been successful enough because it has addressed all the color grading challenges you have. If you are on our WhatsApp channel, you can share your questions over there, and then we will address all those questions. Otherwise, you can also share. I'm giving about 5 minutes for you guys to ask your questions in the comment section at the moment, and then I will attend to it. Otherwise, I'll wait a while and then we call it a day. And I would also want to know your reviews on my WhatsApp channel. So you guys don't forget to share your reviews with me. Thank you. I'm waiting for your questions in the comment section or on the WhatsApp platform now. Any questions so far? I'm still waiting for your questions. All right, so if there is no question, I want to believe that we all understand what I taught, which means I am a very good teacher. So, I mean, a pastor of mine once said that Asema Otiasi and Mbisa Unkushe. So, which means that you guys understand all that we've discussed today, which means the class has been really successful. Good. Good. And I'm sure my advert is nice. Monka Bibi Chem na mutum yin da yawa. And also make sure you subscribe to our channel, like the stream, and also share the link to others for them to also joining. We hope that very soon we will be doing some more tutorials like this online so that it will benefit or we will also share the little we've learned. Great. If there are no questions, we'll call it a day and then continue some other time. Sorry guys, let us switch you why. Please don't forget to share your videos with me on my WhatsApp platform. I beg you, I want to know how this session has been. Don't disappoint me. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the day. Bye bye. Hello. All right, guys. We have seen someone asking me to give a general overview on all that we've done today. So I would do that quickly, but I hope, we understood all that I said. It wouldn't be like Manchester. All right. So what we treated today is color grading in the Premiere Pro software. And we learned about what we term color correction and then color grading itself. Color correction is a situation where you are correcting or bringing back the footage or the log footage of the camera to its natural color state. You understand? Because normally when you shoot the log footage, it looks pale and washed out. So you have to bring back the contrast and the colors itself because some of the colors are likely to go off because of the log state. So that is color correction. When you are done, now you decide to either do a color grading or not because this time around it becomes more artistic. Depending on the mood you want to communicate, you color grade your footage. So you can give it a warm tone or maybe a cool tone depending on what you actually want to communicate. There are other forms of color gradings we also have. So we normally say that because color grading is an art, there's no wrong color grading. You get it? Because that one it depends on the person's or the artist's discretion. Great. So that's what we learned, and we learned about the lumetri scopes in the Premiere Pro because that is what will guide you to deliver a good coloring or correct your colors rightly because we can't rely on our machines or the screens of our machines to know whether the colors we are seeing are right or wrong. So we need to rely on the lumetri scope, the vector scope, the HSL parade, and for us to know whether we are doing it rightly. We also have the lumetri color panel, that is the basic adjustment which we use to correct our white balances and then our contrast and the colors, the creative adjustment panel. We learned about that. We learned about the curves. We also learned about the color view, and we also learned about the HSL secondary. Good. We also learned about the vignette, which helps us add some more, focus in our work. So let me say, in a nutshell, we, we discussed my approach to color grading in Premiere Pro. My approach to color grading in Premiere Pro. We have other color grading software, editing software like DaVinci Resolve, Filmora, among others, Final Cut, and so on and so forth. You can explore them as well, but with Premiere Pro, this is my approach or my way of color grading in Premiere Pro. I hope I've done justice to going over the whole thing with length today. All right, guys. So thank you guys for joining today's stream. It is time with Ampong B, and I hope it has been a great success um, as far as this lesson is concerned. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully, same time, another time, we are going to meet and have some more insight. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and comment as well. You better us with you. Bye bye.